So I'm going to ask you a very, very serious question. It may sound just like a promotional question. It may sound like some way just to bring you into these series of videos, but I'm very, very serious when I ask this question. What if you could double the number of guests who come to your church every year? 52 weeks out of the year, all throughout the year, when it's all said and done, you double the number of guests. I am not going to speak theoretically. I'm going to speak from churches that are watching such experiences take place. I'm going to speak from reality. I'm going to be sharing this information because churches are actually watching this happen. Now, what I'm going to do, we'll take the best of all of these churches, and I will share in a way that when I make a claim, and again, it is a claim, when I make a claim that you can double the number of your guests in your church over the course of a year, I really think that I'm understating it. Because I've seen churches that will do just one thing and they will come close to doubling the number of guests. And I will be sharing with you multiple ways that you can double or increase even more multiples those guests who come to your church. Now just imagine if you had twice as many guests, 3 times as many guests. And we know that some of the guests are out of town, some of them are relatives, and they will not return, or they'll only return sporadically. But some of these are people who don't know Christ in the church. They don't know Christ in the community. They come wanting to see what's going on. They heard about your church, and there's an opportunity for them to come in. Some of them are new residents that have come into your community and they're looking for a church home. What if you could get a regular flow of those guests coming at a pace that has been unprecedented, at least in recent history in your church? This is not just some type of stretch claim. This is reality. And I'll be sharing these with you over the course of the next 4 videos so that it can really make a gospel-centered impact in your church. Now, what we're going to do in this particular video is we're going to say, what are they coming to? Why are they coming in the first place? What are some of the reasons they come to your church in the first place? Some of these may seem a bit self-evident, but I think it's important to review these before we get to some of the maybe newer approaches to having guests come into your church. So let's look at each of these 6 reasons guests come to your church in the first place. All right, start with number 1, personal invitations. It's still the best. You expected me to say that. If I did not say that, then I would be remiss in the information I have. Personal invitations are still the best. One of the reasons that we provided the resource, Invite Your One, was to encourage church members to invite someone. Personal invitations are still the best, whether it's someone at the workplace, or whether it's someone in the neighborhood, or maybe just someone you came across at your favorite coffee place. Whatever the case may be, personal invitations are still the best way. Now, it's one thing for me to say that, and then there could be the metaphorical rolling of the eyes of those who are viewing this, and you say, I know that, Tom. I got that reality. But here's the thing about it. I want my people to invite others, but it just does not happen. Well, by stating number 1, I'm going to unfold some other ideas, some other concepts, some other realities that are actually taking place in churches, and you will be able to see how this is unfolding at many churches. I do want you to stay with us the entirety of these 4 videos. By the time we get to the 4th video, I will be giving you something that will be a tremendous help, a tremendous resource, free resource to help you to even do a better job of getting guests in. So stay with me through these 4. They're fairly brief. We'll be delivering to you one after another, and after you get all of these, you'll have an incredible resource to double the number of guests in your church. So number 1, personal invitations are still the best. Number 2, you have to have a culture of inviting. A culture of inviting in a church does not happen overnight. That is one of the primary reasons that I hope you will stick with me through these free videos, because you will learn how that culture of inviting must be created. It's not just a matter of pastor standing in the pulpit and say you should be inviting people. It's not simply a matter of leaders saying, yeah, we agree with you, and they give the nod of the head, and then they move on and do their thing. A culture of inviting is taking place in many churches, and quite frankly, those are the churches that are not only growing, but they are growing as a consequence of a regular flow of guests who are coming in. So the first two are just self-evident. In of themselves, they do not provide the information that you need, but they are foundational. So you have number one, personal invitation, still the best. Number two, this entire culture of inviting. Number three, check your website. I don't know how many times in the course of Rainer on Leadership podcasts and ThomRainer.com blog and Church Answers, we have talked about a church's website. I'm going to keep on doing that to the point of ridiculous redundancy. Here is something you need to know. The website is the front door for churches. Now, what is the front door? The front door is the place a prospective guest will go first. It used to be that they would just show up at the worship service, but now they go to the website. And quite frankly, I still stand amazed that as inexpensive as church websites are, as simple as they are to build and to maintain, that many churches are just neglecting their website. And here is what is going to happen. An unchurched person or a new resident in your community is going to come and start looking for a church online, and your church is going to show up, and they're going to go to the website. And if your website is not guest friendly, if it is not ready to receive guests who are coming there and you don't even know that they're there, you're going to lose opportunity. Now, what does this mean? Well, there are two things that every website should have. You should have the physical address of the church so they can put it in their navigation system and know exactly how to get there, the physical address of where your church is located, and the times of services. Those are minimums. There are other things that are helpful, like staff and pre-enrolling kids in preschool or nursery. There are a lot of other things you can do, but at a very minimum, on the front page, have the time of the services and the physical address of your church. I would just encourage you to have an incredibly high-quality website. Any church can do it, from the smallest to the largest. This is not something that is precluded by the smaller churches, because now any church is able to do this. If you are going to have a regular flow of guests, check your website. And here's something I would suggest you would do. Get someone who really doesn't know anything about your church and say, hey, would you just kind of pretend that you're thinking about visiting my church? And here's my website, here's my URL. Will you go to there and just tell me what you see? Just get a friend. Maybe get someone who's not even a friend, someone who will be a little more critical of it, someone that will be transparent and honest, just someone to go to your website and say, from a guest point of view, what is it that you see? Now, how long would that take? You send out an email, a text, or maybe you make a phone call, ask that person to do it, and say, call me back in about 15 or 20 minutes after you've had an opportunity to do it. Listen to them and take notes. Listen to me well. Guests are coming to your website. Check your website from the eyes, from the lens of a guest. Number 4, understand the power of Facebook. We've talked about this on a number of occasions, but Facebook is the new gathering place. It's the digital gathering place. And the remarkable thing about Facebook is whether you just are having something on your Facebook page where your church is just talking about something and people are sharing it with others, or whether it is a paid promotional Facebook ad, Facebook has an amazing way, amazing algorithms to get that information out to people in the community. Friends of friends, people who are on your Facebook page, the algorithm just gets out there, gets the information out there. I am suggesting to even the smaller churches that you need to have some type of small ongoing budget for Facebook ads. I mean, $20 a week, $10 a week, something to constantly get the information out. That's where people are. So why aren't you getting the information out in the community? That is one way that you can double your guests almost by itself. I was recently speaking to my son Jess, and he went through a series of paid promoted ads, and I would ask people coming to his church, you know, how did you get here? And I'm going to say 4 out of 5. 3 out of 4, I don't know exactly, said, oh, I saw a Facebook ad, or saw it on Facebook. He stopped doing those a while, and the number of guests who came as a result of Facebook diminished, and the total number of guests was down as well. That is one thing that I would just say for all churches. God is using this secular community instrument called Facebook, and you can use it in your church as well. Number 5, invitation through groups. Sunday school classes, small groups, community groups, home groups, whatever the nomenclature is in your church. Ask your leaders to encourage every group member to have this mentality of inviting people to come to the group. Conclude every class meeting or group gathering with, hey, let's invite someone new. I know that at my church, we actually have photos of the community group leaders, and on an ongoing basis, the leadership of the church is saying, hey, there's information about groups and the leaders that are out there, and if you're interested in anything, go look at them. And we are encouraged, we who are group leaders, to actually be inviting guests who are in the church services to come to our groups, because here's what happens. If they come to a group, they are going to have a stickiness to them, and they're going to be a regular guest in the worship service. Invitation through groups. Now, what you'll hear throughout this entire video series, number 6, is the power of redundancy. We will talk about multiple ways to get guests to be coming into your church, to watch this flow that can double or more. Some of it is merely reminding people. Some of it is your website. Some of it is through the power of groups. Some of it through Facebook. But we're going to talk about other ways. The key here is to keep it ever before the people. If you are truly a church that wants to get the gospel to the community and have the community come into the church to hear the gospel, this is going to be critically important for you. I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, because we're seeing it on a regular basis, that you can double or even more the number of guests who are coming to your church on a regular basis. Stick with me through these series of videos. Hear the advice and the counsel that is coming from literally hundreds, if not thousands of churches for which we are getting this information and data. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a pause on this video. You'll be getting another video very soon. And that next video is going to ask this question and answer the question: what if you could double the number of guests in your church? What if you could double the return rate? What would that mean? So come back for the next video. We'll continue this very important series, because this is all about getting the gospel out by getting people in. We'll see you on the next video.